Today on the Christian Nerds Unite podcast, we're going to look at some entertainment news and a new trailer of the Book of Boba Fett. And I have a special request at the end of the show, and we'll get to all of that right after this. I've been using Coinbase.com and the Coinbase app for cryptocurrency for about 2 years now, which makes it really easy and safe to buy, sell, and store digital currency like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Sign up now and use my link at christiannerdsunite.com/Coinbase and get $10 of free Bitcoin when you buy or sell at least $100 worth of digital currency. Join 43 million other people who buy, sell, and manage their crypto on the world's most trusted crypto exchange. Check it out at christiannerdsunite.com/Coinbase. And now, back to the show. Today on the show, I want to go through some entertainment news that came up this week and to look at the Book of Boba Fett trailer that just dropped today. Plus, I have a special request at the end of the show, so stick around for that. But first, let's look at some scripture. Let's read Matthew 25:31 through 36. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people from one another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right hand and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Watching the Book of Boba Fett trailer got me thinking about thrones today, just in general. I know that sounds a little odd, but if you watch the trailer, I think you'll get why thrones came to mind. The thrones of kings and queens. Some talk about Jesus sitting on the throne of our heart as a metaphor for his presence or kingship over us. Well, while I was thinking, this particular scripture that I just read came to mind. This image of Jesus coming into his throne and welcoming those who served the least of these, as he goes on to say. It's a fascinating passage to me right now. I'm here just outside of Oklahoma City, and I work and chat with ministry partners that are serving the least of these on a regular basis. Very specifically, I'm in contact with those who are serving a refugee population that has just moved to our city from Afghanistan. Now, these people have almost nothing. There are movements to clothe them, to feed them, to house them. Even a call that went out this past week looking for people to help teach them English. Truly being the hands and feet of Jesus to people that have nowhere to turn. My guess is that there are similar people in your town. Maybe they're not refugees from Afghanistan, but from a different country, or from right here in the U.S., but people who are struggling with everyday needs. Well, I want to challenge you to look and see what needs you are able to help with meet this week. Reach out to your church or maybe someone you know personally in need that could use your support. Many of us give money, But I want to challenge you to take a step out and do something tangible for someone this week. Serve someone, serve one of the least of these. Well, as I said earlier, I wanted to talk about some entertainment news that came out this week and to talk about the new Book of Boba Fett trailer. Let's start with one of the biggest entertainment news pieces that came out this week, I think, and that is the early critics review of Marvel's Eternals, coming in on Rotten Tomatoes at 59%, with 140 critics reviewed. Now, that means that technically it is rotten. Now, that being said, it was 59%, and only 140 critics reviewed. So it would only take 2 or 3 more critics reporting a positive review to flip this to 60%, which is considered fresh. So I'm not too sure this rotten rating is going to stick. Most movies will have somewhere between 200 and 300 critic reviews. So this could go up or down. I'm not sure which direction it will go. Also, the audience scores obviously have not happened yet because the movie hasn't been released. These are all preview critic reviews. And lately, I've been seeing a significant difference between what the critics are saying and what the audience actually believes when they go see the movie. But after reading many of the reviews, it sounds like the film is suffering from some of the things that I was expecting. From all accounts, it looks amazing, but there are simply too many characters to introduce and give significant enough stories to. That says that it's a spectacle, but that the plot kind of falls flat. Many also say that it's taking itself too seriously, which may or may not mean that it's missing the characteristic Marvel MCU humor that we get in a lot of the movies. That gets thrown into to lighten the mood in these dark movies, and this is kind of a darker story from the sounds of it. I will withhold my judgment until I get to see it. But as I've said before, it is one of the Marvel movies that I was not looking forward to. And my biggest fear was that there were simply too many characters to introduce, and the names, the actors and actresses attached to some of those characters were simply so big that you're going to have to give them more screen time, which may or may not take time away from the real heart of the story. So I do want to see it. I do want to see what it's all about. But this is a movie that I'm not quite sure is going to be a winner in the MCU. So we will see. Next up, shortly after releasing my podcast last week, my review of Dune, it was announced that part 2 has been greenlit by Warner Brothers. That shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, and it's not a surprise to me either. The critics and the audience reactions, plus the worldwide box office numbers, were great. And after seeing it, I had no doubt that they would greenlight part 2. Now, do expect part 2 to be much more action-packed and dive deeper into some of the lore that's attached and the mystery of the Fremen and their belief that Paul is their Messiah. I'm super excited about that. No idea when the date is going to be. Expect it to probably be late 2023. That is my prediction. Getting a little closer to home, our own Libby Perkins from the Christian Nerds Unite Facebook group. If you're not part of the group, definitely go join the Facebook group. We'd love to have you. But Libby Perkins shared some exciting set photos from the upcoming Disney Plus Willow series, while she was out on the beach in Wales, she happened to see that they were filming. And this show will feature Warwick Davis. He'll be reprising his role as a dwarf sorcerer named Willow. And if you're listening to the podcast, go check out the YouTube version to see the images that I'm showing on the video right now. While you're there, do like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks again, Libby, for sharing these photos and allowing us to use them. I'm really stoked about this show. I hope they do it justice. Speaking of, if you have any other exciting photos or news that you think we might want to share on the podcast, send them to us, message us on Facebook, or email us at news@christiannerdsunite.com. Now, a bit of odd news. Bill Murray let it slip this week that he has shot a few scenes and will be in the 2023 film Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. As strange as that sounds, could Bill Murray be the new Stan Lee cameo replacement? I really hope not. I would just rather that not happen at all. But I do really enjoy Bill Murray as an actor, but I don't think they should replace the Stan Lee cameos. I honestly just think this is super weird that Bill Murray is going to be in a Marvel movie. We shall see what that is going to be. I have no idea. In another interesting twist and return of a beloved actor, it is being reported that Brendan Fraser will be playing one of the main villains, if not the main villain, in the new Batgirl film. Expect that film sometime in 2023, most likely. Now, let's talk about that new The Book of Boba Fett trailer. First off, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Just pause this, go watch the trailer, and come back. It's definitely worth it. I definitely think it looks amazing, and it should be a really, really fun series. It does have a little bit of a darker tone to the looks of it, a little grittier than some of the other things that Disney Star Wars has put out in the Disney Plus series. So I'm interested to see exactly how this one plays out. We are returning to Tatooine, no surprise there, and Jabba's palace. Or is it Jabba's palace anymore? If you're not caught up at the end of The Mandalorian season 2, if you haven't seen this, make sure you go back and check this out. End of season 2, last episode, there is a post-credit scene, and we see Bib Fortuna as the new head of Jabba's old palace. He's a bit older, he's a little more overweight. Obviously, he's been indulging in his newfound wealth. But then we see Fennec Shan appear, and after she clears the room of everyone else, Boba Fett simply comes in and kills Bib Fortuna and takes the throne. In the dialogue, it is clear that this is a different Boba Fett than what we saw in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, or even maybe a little bit different than what we saw in The Mandalorian. In Empire and in Jedi, Boba Fett was a bounty hunter, plain and simple. Granted, he was playing two bounties against each other, so he definitely had more going for him than just a regular bounty hunter. He was playing these two bounties against each other, one to lure Luke Skywalker to Darth Vader, and in the same vein, he used Han Solo to do that, while also picking up the bounty by capturing Han Solo to take him back to Jabba the Hutt. So two bounties with one plan. I personally think that shows that Boba Fett has a lot more upstairs than a lot of people tried to give him credit for. Now, then in The Mandalorian, we see Boba as a survivor, escaping the Sarlacc, living with the Tusken Raiders for years. This is a hardened desert weary man now. Uh, but now we see him in a slightly different light again. And even saying he's not a bounty hunter, or he's not a bounty hunter anymore, making it clear that this is going to be a different kind of story, and saying that he plans to rule with respect. Uh, Maybe saying he's not a bounty hunter, implying he is a kingpin. I'm not sure exactly what he means. Um, and from the looks of things, he is not going to be going into hiding. He's not going to hide in the palace like Jabba did and send others to do his bidding. Boba Fett will be going out and handling things personally. If the dialogue is to be believed, and you and I both know Marvel and Star Wars are notorious for giving us things in the dialogue of the trailer that slightly mislead us to think that it's one thing when it's really something else. So if the dialogue is to be believed, Boba is trying to make an alliance with those that used to be under Jabba's control, and presumably have now splintered off into their own little bands since his death. But rather than rule over them with an iron fist like Jabba did, he seems to want to create some sort of new network, some sort of criminal network that will be more equal, maybe. um, Basically saying, rather than have a gang war, let's work together and we'll all become rich. And now it does appear that we will see more world hopping, or that we're seeing some new locations on Tatooine. It's a little unclear from the trailer which that is, but from everything we know about Tatooine, it appears that the place, this big city that they're going to, isn't one that we've ever been to before. So either there's a new city on Tatooine that we haven't talked about, or there's something else going on, or we've hopped worlds. It's a little unclear. We are going to see a lot of alien races. I'm excited about that. I want to see as many as we possibly can, and maybe find out a little more about them. Hopefully, what we see in the trailer isn't just all in one episode and we only see humans from that point on. I would be very, very disappointed if that happened. It will have some action and it will have some intrigue. Based on a few things I'm reading, it is possible that we could see some connection to Crimson Dawn, which would tie things back to what happened in Solo, a Star Wars story, as well as the Star Wars animated show Clone Wars. Don't expect to see Darth Maul. We've already seen him die twice. I don't think we're going to see him again ever. But Boba is putting together what appears to be a crime syndicate of sorts, or at least a syndicate that happens to be built from a bunch of criminals to take on. The idea that they would be taking on Crimson Dawn could be a great story. Not that that is definitely where this is going, but it doesn't feel too far off the mark. But I am usually wrong about these kind of things, let's be honest. Well, it does look great, and it will release on December 29th on Disney Plus. And I'm a bit surprised about this being a Wednesday release schedule. Because Hawkeye is also going to be a Wednesday release schedule. But after reviewing some things, knowing now that Hawkeye is going to release 2 episodes on November 24th, that means we're going to have Hawkeye every Wednesday night, or every Wednesday on release day, until we get the Book of Boba Fett's first episode on December 29th. So just going to be right back to back. I'm interested to see, does that mean Disney Plus is going to have something else being released on Fridays? I'm very curious. I'm really stoked about this one. I do want to see it. I think it's going to be a wild ride over the next couple of months. Well, that's all I have for you today. But I did say I was going to give you a special request. I want to ask you a favor. Next week is my 1 year anniversary of the Christian Nerds Unite podcast. If you're willing and can do it fairly quickly, send me a quick video shout out. Um, and just say, congratulations on 1 year of podcasting for the Christian Nerds Unite podcast. And I'll try to use as many as I can on the podcast next week. I would love to hear from you and hear what the podcast has meant to you over the past year. You can email those videos to video@christiannerdsunite.com or go to christiannerdsunite.com/upload to find a dedicated upload link. Make sure you say who you are, and if you're with a podcast or an organization, include that as well. Give yourself a little plug. I hope to make next week really special. Well, let's wrap up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, click all those buttons down there, whatever they are. You can find all of our social links, our online store, and links to our YouTube channel at christiannerdsunite.com. And while you're there, click on the support tab. We would love to have you as a Patreon. Before you go, I do want to leave you with this blessing from Ephesians 3:20-21. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us, to him be glory in the church and in Jesus Christ throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. We'll see you next week. Blessings.